Last week, we finished the first PowerPoint file for early modern English because many people were not here. And so we kind of waited around because this is an important issue. So I didn't discuss this in detail. So we'll start with this and then go on with the PowerPoint slide for this week. So could you take out this PowerPoint file, early modern English 2, sound changes. Because we finished the first one, which has to do with the context and the orthography and also the spelling changes, right? So now we are on to sound changes in early modern English, sorry. So this is an important topic. That will be one question on the final exam. So we'll talk about some sound changes today in early modern English, right? Of course, in every period, you must have certain phonological changes, one of which is loss, right? The loss of sounds. So loss, so meaning that some sounds just went away, right? Some sounds just went away. There are four main kinds of loss here, phonological loss. One is the C with a tail and X. These are fricative, right? Fricative, and they are glottal or they are velar, fricative, right? So when we have this, the C and the X, oops, just a second. Here, you know that the spelling has become GH, right? So GH, 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 and GH, right? The C with the tail or the X, they are either completely lost, especially before T, as in sight. You don't pronounce the G and the H, right? You pronounce S and then the vowel and the T. The G and the H, which constitute the sound C with the tail or X, they are lost. So in front of the T at the end, they are lost, right? Either the C with the tail or the X are lost. And at the end also, like although and high, they are also lost, okay? However, in some words, the C with the tail and the X, they became F, as in laugh, cough, tough, and enough, right? Now in the second cell here, T in S cluster, T is also lost in S cluster. For example, castle, hasten, wrestle, listen, and hustle, right? Also the D in handsome and landscape, the D is also lost, okay? The L here, especially after low back vowel and before labial sound, like labial or velar, like K or M. The L in this position will be lost. Again, I'll say it again. So the L after a low back vowel, and in front of K, K which is the velar, right? And M which is labial tends to be lost. Okay, L in that position. However, in other positions, like silk, this is after a front vowel, right? So L is still there. And in other positions, L is still there, okay? Finally, the W before R is lost, as in wrong, wrinkle, wrist, ring, and rankle. So in all of these words, you don't pronounce the W, right? So all of these constitute phonological losses in early modern English, right? And some other losses include initial G before N, as in no, nom, Gnosticism, nace. So in all of these, the G is lost. But you know that agnostic, there's the G, right? Agnostic, there's the G after the vowel first, the first vowel. Agnes, there's also the G, right? Because these are not initial, right? And G in final, N with a tail and G, the G is lost. So now the N with the tail has become a phoneme in this period, right? So kin, K-I-N and K-I-N-G, they are different, right, in terms of meaning because of the loss of G, right? Initial K before N, this is parallel to the initial G before N, right? One is voice, one is voiceless. Also the same thing goes on. Acknowledge, in acknowledge, because this is not initial, the K is still there. And then the final E, you remember the final E? This is the last cell. The final E lost. The final E here comes from the fact that the unstressed vowels will go to schwa, right? And in Middle English, this is pronounced as a schwa, right? But finally, the schwa at the end is lost in this period, right? So we are done with losses. Now, consonant changes. So the changes include D to the fricative interdental, voice fricative interdental here, right? After stress and before R. So father, mother, Slytherin, Gathering, the D in all of these words became TH, voice TH, right? So father became father, and so on, okay? With the exception of these things that modern and consider, because they are not after stress and not before R, okay? And this, the second cell is the reverse of the first cell, the reverse of the first cell. The voice interdental fricative here becomes just the D after R and before L. So murder became murder, burden, burden, and so on, right? And finally, the Y sound is inserted before unstressed vowels in medial position. So tenure, so you insert the Y sound in there, right? So we have tenure, like that, so tenure. So this is the modern pronunciation that we have, right, tenure. So you insert the glide sound, Y, between the unstressed vowel in medial position and the final syllable. So figure became figure, like that. So this is the present day pronunciation of the insertion, right? So this is the final consonant table for early modern English phonemes. And this looks exactly like what we have today, right? This looks exactly like what we have today. Notice the N with the tail here has become a phoneme, right, in this period. And we have also the fricative, palato-alveolar fricative here, affricate. We also have these two sounds here, right? So this looks very much like PDE. So in early modern English period, you don't have a lot of consonantal changes, only losses and only some minor consonant changes, right? However, the big topic is this one. The big topic that will be on the final, and which can also give you the power of explanation of why there's a difference between sound and spelling in English, is this change, which is a very, very influential change in early modern English. And we call this the Great Vowel Shift, right? So the Great Vowel Shift took about 300 or 400 years to complete. So it's not like an overnight process. It's not over 10 years. It's not over 50 years. But it took about 300 or 400 years to be complete, right? So perhaps from the early 14th century to around the 17th or 18th century. So this took many hundred years. So vowels just change a bit by bit, right? Bit by bit, not from one vowel to the next vowel overnight, not like that, but in stages, in different stages. But what I can show you is only the final picture, right? Because I cannot tell you I cannot show you the middle stage, right? I cannot show you how vowels change within a given year and so on, right? So this is the final stage. Let's see. Let me point out the initial stage of vowel change. So the initial stage would look like this. So you have, I'll use this. So you have the situation in Middle English, right? So the situation in Middle English is like this. So you have E, A, and then and then U, and then O, and then O, like this, and then. So this is, oops. So this is the situation in Middle English, right? That you have something like this. Let's see. Sorry, like this. Okay. So you notice that all of these are long vowels, right? Remember, in Middle English we have, and also in Old English we have pairs of long and short vowels. So these are all long vowels. The great vowel shift only affected long vowels, right? Great vowel shifts only affected long vowels, right? So what happened in the great vowel shift over 400 years is that most of the long vowels are moved one step up from where they are. Most of them, one step up from where they are. Some of them, this one and this one involve 2 steps, okay? 2 steps. But the other vowels involve 1 step up from where they used to be in Middle English, right? So for these 2 guys, the highest vowels, they cannot move up anymore, right? When I say move up is like this, so like that, right? 1 step like this. So the 2 guys, the long E and the long U, they cannot move up any further, right? Because they are already at the top. So they became diphthongized to like this and like that. So that's what happened to the highest vowels, right? So there's diphthongization, you know, diphthongization when a single vowel became a diphthong, right? So there's the diphthongization of the 2 high vowels, right? And there's the schwa here that developed out of that, right? So E became A like that, right? So there is the onset. So this is what we call the onset, right? Onset is the first sound. So there's the onset of schwa, right? So the schwa onset here, right? That developed perhaps within the first 100 years, like that. And then the schwa used to be like this, right? Schwa. And then the schwa became I in like and out. Perhaps when the whole process completed, perhaps around the 17th or 18th century, right? Now, you know that when we talked about the historical context of early Middle English, this is also a period where we have English people going around the world. Remember, this is the period of colonization, right? So people who perhaps in the middle of the century who were pronouncing E as A, like this, as U, like this, they went around the world, right? Landing in the US, landing in Canada, landing in Australia. So they carry with them the middle stage of diphthong here, E and O, like that. So people pronounce words like, let's say, buy. This is the modern English buy, right? Buy is modern English like this, right? So those people will pronounce buy as bay, like that. And you can find them in Canada. You can find them in the original US colonies along the East Coast, because when they move around during the period of colonization, they carry with them the middle stage here, where the schwa has not become the that has not completed the process. Okay, so James also from Canada, so you can you can test his pronunciation of I and ow, which we use in early modern English. They will pronounce bay like that instead of by like that. Because at that period, they carried with them, right, to wherever, the immigrant, to wherever they went at that period. And this is the middle of the stage, right, the whole stage. It underwent further change to schwa, right? So now we have blood. Only in some words though, only in some words. So blood, for example, is an exception, right? It should be blood, but nowadays we pronounce it as blood, right? Which means that it must have undergone some more change, right? In this case, the change to schwa. So there are some exceptions. Flood is also the same thing, the word flood. Because nowadays we pronounce it as flood like this. We don't pronounce it as flood, right? Which theoretically speaking it should be, right? So which means that it must have undergone one more change. So from u to schwa, right? From u to schwa. So with some exceptions, right? With some exceptions. Okay, so we explain this, and this. Now the aw, right? The aw is still the same thing, right? That it underwent one step up, that change to o, okay? To o. There's no complication with that one. The complication has to do with this word, this vowel, and this vowel also. Now for the sigma, I call it the sigma. So it's a, right? Now what happened was that first it went up one step to a, okay? Perhaps around the 17th century. But then finally it moved to e, right? It moved to e. So two steps up for this one. First, there's the middle process here, middle point in the process, and then it moved up one more, okay? So you have words like, let's see, I'll use this one. You have words like H-E-A-L, right? So this vowel used to be spelled with E-A, right, E-A. So it used to be hail, right, hail. Now, nowadays, how do we pronounce it? Heal, right, heal. So it means that it ended up here, right, healed, E. So from here to here. So it means that it must have undergone two steps up, right, for this one. So in the middle step is hail and then heal like this. So you guys see that there are two vowels here that are similar, pretty much similar, right? One is spelled with EE, one is spelled with EA, right? However, when the process finished, when the whole process finished, both vowels end up at the same place, which is E, right? And how do you know which is which, right? How do you know the origin? From the spelling. If it's the A, it's spelled with the EE. If it's the like this, it's spelled with EA, like that. But once the whole process was complete, they both end up at the same place, which is this, right? However, the origin is different. And how do we know that this guy ended up in this position? Because of the modern day pronunciation, right? Heal, which is the same as breed. But the spelling is different. And because during the mid stage, which is here, mid stage here, where this guy moved up to here, the mid stage, right? During the mid stage, in Shakespeare's play or in other contemporary writers' works, you can see that words rhyme when they are not supposed to rhyme. Let me give you some example. Please, the word please, right? Please, the word please, and the word, let's say, named, and also one more is green. They all rhyme. When we read poems, right, you know that there are some rhyme patterns, right, in Shakespeare poem, in sonnets, for example. All of these words used to rhyme in one period, in one work, let's say, or in several works by different author. So we can guess from the rhyming patterns that these words must have been pronounced using the same vowel, right, in that period. So this means that there must be some middle stage where these words are pronounced similarly, right, before they end up different here, right, before they end up different in modern day period. So that's how we get the evidence of the pronunciation from the rhyming pattern, right? What else? For this one, the R, instead of just moving up one level, the R moves here and then end up here. So it became in perhaps the middle of the process, and then it ended up here, right? The word name here. So nam became name, which is modern English pronunciation. So in one period, all of these words, name, green, and please, they used to rhyme, right? And it's not that all of these vowels change in the same way at the same time, right? Meaning that one vowel might change, the change of one vowel might have already complete, whereas another vowel is still changing like that, right? So it's not until the 17th or the 18th century that all the vowels stopped moving and became what we are using today. Right? So again, all of the long vowels, right? All of the long vowels from Middle English, right? Move up one step, right? Move up one step. So the highest vowels, including the E and the U, they cannot move further. So they became diphthong, right? They became diphthongs. First by developing the schwa before it, right? The onset in the onset position, before in the final stage, before becoming I and ow, right? So people who moved around the world, they carry with them the mid process sound change I and ow, like this, to Canada, to the east coast of the US, and they still keep that pronunciation until nowadays, right? Before the pronunciation change was complete, okay? And then other vowels move up one step, right? Most of them, with the exception of this vowel A, right? Spelled with EA, because it moved up two steps, right? The final landing site is the E, which is the same as when the A here moved up, right? Okay? And the R here moved like maybe to the side and then up to A. So these are two exceptions, right? This guy and this guy. There are two exceptions that do not just involve one step up, but also two step up and some to the side, to the left side. Okay? And to give you the detail change, you can see this is the final picture, right? This is the final picture. Now this is kind of the detail change. You see that the complete process is around 1800, right? 1800, which is this, right? The complete process. But along the way, vowels change in different rates at different pace, right? So A here became A midway around 1600 before it became E and then stopped there like that. So other vowels are more straightforward, right? So U became O first before the schwa became A and so on. So this is about 400 years or so, right? Even more than that, right? And so now you know why there is no one-to-one corresponding between pronunciation and the spelling, right? So RIDE is the same. The spelling is more or less the same, right? More or less the same between Middle English and present-day English and early modern English. But what's different is the pronunciation, right? The pronunciation kept changing, right? Whereas the spelling has been fixed due to many reasons that we talked about already, the printing press, the standardization of spelling, dictionary, and so on. So basically, we are writing things that people no longer pronounce since the 1400, right? Since 1400. So we are still writing things that people no longer speak, in other words, right? So there is no one-to-one correspondence between sound and spelling in English because of that reason. And if I can come back here, the reason why this change is perhaps because people call this a pull. Let me write it out here. Where's my thing? This is called the push or the pull. Push or the pull process of sound change. Push or the pull. Push versus pull process, phonological process, right? Push, you know, push meaning like this, right? Pull is to drag towards you, right? So push or pull, there are two theories about why these vowels change. One is the push process, the push theory, and the other one is the pull theory, right? So the push theory is something like this. So people start changing the pronunciation of A first, right? So that it became eh, like that, A and eh, very close to each other. So A and eh, right? So A became eh in the first step, right? So this has an effect. This has an effect upon other vowels here, right? So once words that are used to pronounce with A, right? Words that are used to pronounce with R came to be pronounced with air. So other words have to move up, right? Other vowels have to move up one step also to make the difference, salient, to make the difference obvious, right? Thinking of this as, you should think of this as when you go on a train, right? When you go on a train, and with these vowels representing different people inside a compartment. Compartment is one part of the train, right? So if it's full of people like this, and if one person moves out, let's say he gets off at Wangshimi Station, so the A gets off at Wangshimi Station, or the air get off at Wangshimi Station, other people will have to move, right? Because there's a space in the system, right? Or if there's one person coming inside, so people have to move their place, switch their position in order to accommodate the incoming people, right? So the push process is like when there is a person coming into the compartment of the train, so other people have to move, right, to make room for that person, right? So this is the push process, right? The push theory. The other theory is the pull theory, where first the E has become diphthongized to ơi, like that. So once the E leaves its place like this, there's a person getting off at Wangshimi Station. There's the space here, there's a room here for other people to move in, right? So other people tend to move in to fill the space like that. So there are two theories that are going on in linguistics right now. One is the push theory. So the push theory is like there's one person getting on the train, right? So other vowels, other people have to make room to accommodate the new coming person. On the other hand, there's the pool theory where the highest vowels of the two sides have become diphthong guys first. So they leave that space first, making the space available for other vowels to move in to take place, right? To take the place of those vowels, like that. Just like when people get off at a particular station. And in some, nowadays, in some dialects of American English, especially in the north, in the northern cities like Chicago, like Wisconsin, vowels are still moving. Vowels are still moving. So people pronounce words like, let me use this. People pronounce words like black as, block as black. So this is this is a. If you are interested in like dialects of American English, people have noticed, linguists have noticed this kind of change from block to black. So he moves around the block. He moves around the black like that. So sounds like just shift to in a very subtle way, right? This is called the northern cities vowel shift, which is going on right now in the US, like in the northern city vowel shift. Like this kid on the block, this kid on the block. So this is somewhat similar to the great vowel shift that happened during the early modern English period. And I need to Google real samples of people who do northern city vowel shifts, and I'll show you next time that people really shift their pronunciation from a to in modern days. Okay. So coming to the slide, coming back to the slide, these are the exceptions, right, that we talked about before. The A to E here, there's the middle step, right? There's the middle step where the A changed to A, right? And these are two exceptions. Not all words with A change to E. There are two exceptions. One is for those that got shortened, for those words that the vowel got shortened before the GVS, great vowel shift. So thread, head, death, and deaf. So they are not pronounced threed, heed, deed, and deef, right? So but deaf, death, head, and thread. So which means that something must have happened. Something must have stopped the change. One thing that happened is the shorten of the vowel before the final sound, right? Before the final sound. And some words stop at the E, here midway. Break, not break. Steak, not steak. Great, not greet. So there are some exceptions, right? And we talked about these already, that some words underwent further change to U or to schwa, like foot, good, hood, and wood, and flat and blood. So there are some exceptions to this sound change, right? I think this is the last slide for that file. So what we'll do now is we'll do a practice exercise of the great vowel shift, right? So it will look like this. And this will be similar to the final exam. So what we'll do is we'll figure out how the vowel change, right? How different vowels change after the great vowel shift. Okay, so I will pass this out from here. So everyone has got a copy, right? Now, on the top part, which is this, okay, which is this. Now, this is the final step, right? The final stage after the GVS, okay? Perhaps around 1800 or so, right? Around 1800 also. So E, for example, changed to I, right? This is the final step, right? Not midway, but the final step of everything. E to I, A to E also, right? That's the final step. R to A, U to OW, and so on, right? So this is the final step, right? As a reminder for you. Now, what you have to do in the A set, there are two sets, A and B. In the A set, what you have to do is to figure out what the present day pronunciation. So the present day pronunciation is somewhat like the early modern English, right? So what they give to you is the Middle English version, ME, Middle English version, and then you see the IPA transcription, right, in the brackets. Now you have to figure out what the PDE word would be by guessing, right? The ME, of course, the ME version is the version that has not undergone the GVS, Great Vowel Shift, yet, right? Now you have to use the information here, right, to help you guess the modern day word, right, what the modern day word would be. So stone, aw, right, aw should become o, right? So stone should become stone, right, stone. So what word is stone? Now you write down the PDA words, S-T-O-N-E, stone, like that. Okay. Now let's go over maybe the first three together. Now in number one, that's the ME pronunciation. How do you pronounce it? Yelled, right? Yelled, yelled. Now yelled, the word yelled. A will change to E finally, right? According to the table here, A changed to E. So yell has to be, in modern English or early modern English, same thing. Yell has to be yield, yield. What word is yield? Yield. Right? Y-I-E-L-D, yield. So pronunciation is J-I-L-D, yield, like that, right? In modern English. Now in the second one, let's say, okay, so we are done with the first. Second one, broad, 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 right? Broad. Now O changed to what? U. So broad goes to brood, right? Broad goes to brood. In modern English or early modern English, same thing. Broad goes to brood, right? One step up. So brood, how do you spell brood? B-R, so it has to be somewhat similar because the spelling system, right? Spelling system is fixed at the end of the Middle English period. So O is usually spelled with O-O, right? O is O-O, right? In Middle English. So B-R-O-O-D, brood, right? Which is a word, right? Now in number three, let's look at number three. Number three, the pronunciation in Middle English is beat, right? Beat, beat, beat. Now E is the highest vowel, right? Highest vowel, E. Now I told you the highest vowel has to become a diphthong, right? Diphthong first with the schwa sound as the onset and then I, right? E to I. So nowadays we should pronounce beat with as E to I. So E, beat will become bite, right? Bite, bite. What word is bite? B-I-T-E. So bite, like this, right? Bite. Beat to bite. So the E at the end is the remnant, right? The remnant of the schwa sound to show you that it's a long sound, the long E, right? To contrast it with just B-I-T, right? Bit and bite, right? Bit, and in Middle English, beat, which then became bite in early modern English. Number four, Sam, R involved two two steps of moving, right? Two steps of moving. So left hand side and then up, right? R to A, right? R to A, R to A, right? Tale to tail, for example. Tale to tail in the example here. So Sam has to go to A. Sam to same, right? Sam to same. How do you spell the word same? Same, S-A-M-E, right? So same, like this, right? Same. Number five, okay? So 4 is okay, right? So number 5, vapor, A, right? A to E, right? According to the table here, A to E, one step up. So weep have to be weep, right? Weep. So weep, how do you spell weep? W-E-E-P, right? W-E-E-P. Before we move on, let me give you the reminder. So this guy is usually spelled E-E, right? E-E, spelled in E-E, right? Spelled in E-E. In Middle English, right, the spelling and the pronunciation is usually matched, right? To a great extent, is usually matched. So this guy will be spelled with E, and sometimes with the letter E at the end, like that, right? That's the spelling. The third guy is EA, right? EA, right? EA. Sometimes with letter E at the end. Sometimes with letter E at the end, right? R is usually spelled with R. U is U. O is O. R could also be O. O is usually OO. OO. And R is usually O. So spelling and the pronunciation usually matched in Middle English, right? But in early modern English, the sounds, the vowel sounds, the long vowel sounds moved up one step, making the pronunciation and the spelling different, not matched anymore, right? So you can base your knowledge of sound and spelling by looking at the phonetic transcription also, because they are more or less the same, right? O is usually OO, like that, right? Now, there are 2 more words. So let's get the first column over. Number 6, soothe, U, highest vowel, will become diphthong, right? Soothe to south, right? South. How do you spell south? So it's O-U-T-H, right? South. Number 7, same vowel, right? Who to how, right? U to ow. Who to how. So how do you spell how? H-O-W, right? How. The diphthong, where's the diphthong here? The diphthong ow is usually spelled as O-U, right? O-W. Okay, so I'll give you perhaps 10 minutes to work on number 8 to number 23. 8 to 23 in 2 columns, the last 2 columns, right? The middle column and the last column. So first, figure out the pronunciation, right? So 8, what is this thing? Clean, right? Clean. So it should be, the final stage would be E, right? So clean, like that. And I told you that this guy, A, which will be spelled with E-A, right? E-A. So now you can guess what the word would be. Clean, right? So clean. So guess, you can guess. So I'll give you about 10 minutes and I'll walk around and help you to figure out what the PDE or early modern English words would be? A? Letter A, right? So tag, right, tag. Number six, Hanur, because the next person is not here, so you. Roast, O, so down one level. O, right? So O, no, not that, but you have to do it backwards. So O to O, right? So roast would be roast. And number 7, Minho. Moon, nowadays it's moon, right? To moon, right? So to moon. And number 8, Pyonghan. 8. Nowadays, how do we pronounce it? Mice. So, mice, right? Mice. So, E. And the last one is 9, right? Mouse. So, mouse, let's see. Thagen, mouse. Mouse is a diphthong, right? Ow. So, you have to go back one step. Nope. Moose. Ow to u, back to u, right? So moose. So that everyone can see like this. Okay. So today we finish the great vowel shift, right? Which explains what? The great vowel shift explains why there is a discrepancy between sound and spelling, right? Sound and spelling in the English language. Again, the great vowel shift only involved long vowels, right? Long vowels. Short vowels are not affected by the great vowel shift. So on, since everyone seems to be ready to move. So on Wednesday, we'll talk about syntactic changes, right? Since I have the handout for Wednesday here, people who don't think they can